find me where the daylight ends. Stolen time, enough to waste on feeling young again. Destination, decimation, be my detour for a while. And until we're headed nowhere, we can watch the world burn. Take one last look at what we left behind. We can drive forever till the blood moon dies. Too late to start again, so let's live to see the end and leave our shadows when we're gone. Silhouettes against the darkness hanging over us. Don't forget all those places that we used to love. Destination, decimation, be my detour for a while. And until we're headed nowhere, we can watch the world burn. Take one last look at what we left behind. We can drive forever till the blood moon dies. Too late to start again, so let's live to see the end and leave our shadows when we're gone. Destination, decimation, be my detour for a while.
You are Yahawahashai's and YaHaWaHa's warriors. You're the witnesses, the two witnesses in the park, 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the book. You guys are righteous, holy, perfect, never tell a lie.
Ain't nobody stopping. Ain't nobody stopping.
And we are live, everyone. We did not pay Jaren to say that either. I am Jason of Awake Souls. I'm joined by Ronnie Harris, the Limitless one. How are you doing, brother?
Awesome, man. Really nice to be here tonight. I'm in such a great mood, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're not going to be spending our time going through debunks of the fake flat earths, the shills, that kind of stuff. We're going to be spending our time going through the signs in the heavens, because our ministry, what we've been doing, is solely focused on the return of our Savior. And so we're Christians, we're Bible believing, we pay attention to all truth, regardless if it's the shape of the floor or whether or not planes are using fuel. Like, we don't care. We're just all in for truth. And I just want to point out to everybody, we had like a Team YaHaWahashai anniversary of sorts. All right, so as I was getting ready for tonight, I was just looking at a few things that I was curious about timing wise, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me, when was the first time that Ronnie and I did a live stream together? And so I looked it up, and it's on Ronnie's channel. It's November 30th, 2016. So November 30th is a day that we had big eyes on this year.
Yep.
And, you know, it's interesting to find out afterwards that it's the 4-year anniversary of our ministry. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it is that it just happened naturally. We didn't even know. We were just doing research, and boom, there it was. I still remember the reason that I reached out to Jason was because I had figured out that the AE map model was fake, and I was trying to find anyone else who could understand it like me, because the only other person was this free energy channel. And then, you know, he had a hard time with English, and I didn't think he completely understood what he was doing. And so Jason came around, and you know, we just both hit it off. And you know, I guess I have to say, if I look at my life as a block, one block at a time, you know, the 4 years I've really tremendously changed. You know, I want to give always the glory to the Creator, the Father, YaHaWaHa first. But you know, I did have an older brother growing up. He was a few years older than me, kind of like you, Jason, same kind of age. And I love him. His name was Lee. He had a different dad and a different mom. He was a stepbrother, but I don't really count that. Brothers are brothers. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, Jason, you know, 4 years ago, if anybody wants to watch that stream, we'll link it below. I wasn't even on camera, right? I was like 200 pounds heavier than I am tonight. I wasn't able to write paragraphs correctly or do anything. Basically, even my videos, you could tell the change in the content quality. And I just want to say, Jason, excuse me, thank you, brother. All the help and all the lessons, all the like tough stuff that you've had to put up with. You do have a great amount of patience. And I can completely understand why the Creator allowed us to work together. And he's been continuing to anoint us this whole entire way. Everything that we've put our hearts to, we've seemed to do. And I'm really thankful tonight.
Yeah, it's funny, those words that we played of Jaren's. I guess that was from last night. Those were his words that came out of his mouth that he said about us. I mean, and then there's one other thing before we get into our signs in the heavens that he said right after he said that. So he's made that statement, and well, thank you, Jaren. We never expected something like that from you. But
so it is as you say, Jaren.
But then you did go on to say some stuff that we can easily show is a lie, and we'll get into that. So there's just a little of that to cover, and we're not going to go through any other stuff that's been put up recently. We can tell people what's going to be coming up, depending on how pressed we feel as far as keeping up with this content. We could possibly do an extra live stream this Monday or Tuesday, but probably at the latest Wednesday we would be covering some stuff that's gone on within the fake flat earth. And I mean, we haven't talked about Mark Sargent being with Chris on Beyond the Veil. We haven't gone through any of that kind of stuff. There's
Mark came out and said that he's the owner of the Friend Finder app.
Yeah, we should hear Mark's words about that, right?
Well, he says he's the owner, right? Basically.
Guy behind it. And what was it, Ralph Real? Was that the character name that was used? Something like that. And so there's that. Then I've seen that there's a thing going on with the app, David Weiss's app, and there's a whole nother area of, you know, how to cover the liars, the deceivers, the people that the fake flat earthers, what they're up to. There's a whole nother topic there. So we've got that stuff to go through. Something I heard Bob say on Globebusters. I think I might just re-up a video that is super keyed into that topic. So we will be banging out some content, maybe rapid fire coming up here. It's pretty easy because so much of it is just repeats of what we've been doing the last 4 years, right?
Yeah, there's tons of new stuff, actually. We're so swamped with stuff. Even looking into like the virology department, we're starting to see some heavy changes with the Kaufman guy showing up over there. There's so much that we could get to, as well as the great world events that are taking place. So we've now made it through the lunar eclipse where the moon was turned to blood. We watched that. Jason filmed it. And now we just had yesterday was the solar eclipse, right? So we're through those signs, and we've noticed all these other amazing things that have happened. And it's wonderful to see these types of things, for us to be able to show you guys pictures of the constellations, the pictures that the Father made in the sky, and actually relate them to things that are happening on the earth. And ladies and gentlemen, what we're looking for here is the absolute destruction of the wicked people, right? The people who are setting up the New World Order are about to get a taste of their own medicine. That's what we're reading. That's what we're seeing in the skies. So it's super exciting. And again, I'm just thankful that everybody that tunes in here gets to see this content. You know, Jason, 2 years ago, you know, we were warning everybody, hey, you might want to get some toilet paper, right? We were letting people know, stock up on water and other things like that. And all the people that were tuned in, they didn't have to go without toilet paper. They were all prepared. So we've been continually staying ahead of the New World Order, albeit they're still doing all this crazy stuff. But you know,
you could have said ahead of the curve, because we've
definitely been well ahead of the curve. And what I want to say is, like, be prepared. So next week there is going to be TikTok content coming out it's the Limitless 888 TikTok channel. So if you're not subscribed over there, you're going to be missing out, because I'm going to be on camera. I'm going to be calling it out. You know, we've got a bunch of plans. We're working on stuff. So there's a bunch. Are you going to
be dancing? Are you going to do the shuffle?
I don't think I've lost quite enough weight yet. If Jaron would come down, we could do a dance off instead of a fist fight, because I know I would just smash him. But I mean, if we did a dance off, then we could see, because Jaron insulted me, said I needed to eat a cheeseburger. So it's like I would challenge him to go to the gym, but all these things are egotistical. So if Jaron has a TikTok and I have a TikTok, yeah, we could do like some kind of dance off or something and see who's got better moves, right? Or who's in better shape. But yeah, the shills, the only thing they've been able to do is just lie. So Kelsey Kerwin showed up. So we're going through the quick, running through everybody, bringing you up to speed. Unfortunately, she leaves a comment that Jason's able to see, but no one else. And when I go and log on to Jason's channel, because I upload to his channel too, I can't see the comment on my computer. Like, it's gone. Like, we could screen share this maybe at a later date. I'm just letting people know. So I went over and commented to her. I don't know who this Kelsey person thinks she is, but she wants to insert herself into the narrative. And where I come from, you need to earn respect. It's not just give it. You got to show up, say what you got, show what you got. And what I've seen is not what deserving of any respect. But so yeah, that happened, right, Jay? Did you want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah. So we saw that all take place, and it's really crazy when you're a content creator, you have somebody send you in comments, and then you have like held for review, and then you have published comments, and you take a comment that was held for review and you publish it, and then you go type out a response to it, and then find out that nobody else can see this published comment, and that even if I go with my own account to YouTube and go to that video and look, it's not there. I can only see it in YouTube Studio. And so this is the kind of crap that we have to deal with. It's the most extreme levels of censorship. In fact, anybody that's ever wondered why I use Awake Souls 2 in the chat here is because if I use my regular channel, YaHaWaHa's daughter can't see it, right? She'd be blocked from seeing it. And I don't have a block on her. She doesn't have a block on me. So these are the types of things that we have to deal with. They're absolute absurdities, and I can't wait for them to be over with.
Yeah, the stupid, annoying things like you just touched on. Like, and sometimes not only that, but let's say Kelsey's comment did show up on my end. I go in there, I spend 20 minutes coming up with a good response, showing the truth, speaking the truth, hit publish on the comment, and it's gone. Disappears into thin air. So not only that, but Jason and I, as we do our commenting, I barely do it. I was relegated to fighting in other areas. And we have to copy and paste them from notepads. We can't even just do a comment and put a comment down. And the other team goes, these guys here, they're the worst content on YouTube. Look how many views they get. Look how many comments they get. Really, we're in our own internet. We've been saying this since 2016. Actually, it was Mark K. Sargent and Pat Steer that actually threatened us that if we were going to continue to call them out and to call out lies and deception the way we were and debunk the AE map and exposed the documentary months before the documentary even aired. We already knew some of the clips, and we knew exactly what they were doing. We did that. Mark said that you're going to pay, you're going to suffer. And he was at YouTube, Mark and Pat, at the same time that he was telling us.
Well, and Jaron was also showing the experiment that he planned on doing that ended up being used in the documentary. And the first iteration of it was so asinine, as we exposed it, that they had to alter the setup of it, and then they ended up just shining a light into a tree down a long path.
Yes, that's what they went with. They went with the light on the tree. Remember they did. And first, what he had said that he was going to do was he was going to get what was it, 8x8 or 4x4 posts,
4x4s, and then he was going to drill 2-inch diameter holes through the post. He was going to stick it in Home Depot pails with play sand.
And then shine a laser through one of the posts and then see the light at the other end of the posts, even though he has no idea how to use lasers. I do. And you get diffraction. Once it hits the first hole, it's gone. Like, I can't shine my laser through the corner of a wall. It scatters the light. It scatters it off into nothingness. But yeah, we were there every step of the way. You know, it was never about attacking Jaron or any of them personally. Like, you know, one of the things that we're going to get to when I throw it back to Jason and his screen shares is that Jaron was trying to say that, like, we were calling him a pedophile, right? Which we never once said that, right? Those weren't the words that came out of our mouths. Now, did we see symbolism and other FBI warnings? Yes, we said we see this stuff, but never once did we put anything like that on a thumbnail or anything like that. So the main thing that I want people to understand is if somebody has accusations, if somebody says, hey, this team here, they're a bunch of actors working for the government, they're paid to come in and shill against the truth and make it look retarded, and they come to you and say, here's 5 to 6 years of timestamps and videos of these people doing these actions, you have evidence. If somebody on the other side of the screen simply says they're fags, or they did this or they did that, and they don't bring any evidence, they don't play our words, they don't show anything, you know that they're lying. But see, the thing is, we don't care about the views. We don't care about what the other team does. Jason and I showed up here and we decided that we were going to fight for truth at all costs, and we were going to leave nothing else. The only thing that mattered was the truth. We weren't about slow playing. We figured out what map would work for a sphere or a flat earth. We did it within 2 months, 3 months of knowing each other. We had the map. It wasn't the completed version that Jason went on to create through a bunch of other maps, kind of like the way that they supposedly made the globe, right? But anyways, I'm way off topic. I just want everybody to know that everything that Jason and I have done has been simply just to testify to the truth, to witness to what happened in these last 4 years. We documented it all. We timestamped it. We left comments. We have it all saved. It's all stored. It's all uploaded. It's all SEO'd. And that was our mission. That was our goal. And not only that, we've restored the ancient creator and Christ's names, right? We've brought back hundreds of parabolic extra-canonical books. We've been teaching the parabolic mysteries to the kingdom of heaven, explaining from the seed of man to the fruit of salvation. We've gone through so many things here. It's unbelievable. Breaking down the physical boundaries of reality is what we've done. We came out and said that you're in a supernatural simulation. We've done this giving people absolute foundations of truth. Every single thing we've done, we've shown evidence and we've backed it up. And where we've been wrong, we've been the first ones to come out and say, we are wrong. We stand corrected. And I guess all the glory, the steadiness, the compassion, the editing, your level of editing. When I met Jason, everybody, 4 years ago, your videos were amazing still, bro. Don't get me wrong. All he would have is an intro with some flat text, and they would zoom into the camera, and then boom, screen share and Jason's voice. And he did it with his laptop mic.
Ken Burns. Anybody can look like
a little bit of movement on the pictures. But I'm telling you, you still got hundreds of thousands of views, bro. You still lit it up because your content was very clean and it was truthful. And you didn't even know anything about SEO, yet you still had threads with your tags. You had multiple tags. You matched them. Like, you were the guy, I said, the guy that comes up first pitch, home run, game over. That happens to be that an earthquake happened after the ball went over the field. The game's over. They decided that your team won. Me, on the other hand, I've had to, by tooth and nail, claw myself up out of being obese, having speech impediments, having impediments with writing, having impediments with editing. Mine has just been an absolute physical battle. But at the end of the day, I just want to stop this rant. But Jason, your abilities too have risen, just so has mine. Like nobody on the internet. I'm the luckiest guy, because the dude that I work with comes up with the craziest graphics. They're like my style too. We blended our styles, right? Like amazingly. And I don't care if me and you and 10 people that show up in the chat, including Yahawah's daughter, obviously, and everybody else on the team, I'm thankful that we get to share this content together. Like that's the most important thing. I didn't pursue having a big house and a family. I didn't pursue all these different aspirations, having a nice car or membership at the golf club or the private ski ticket for the year. I didn't pursue these things. I pursued the truth, and at all costs. And so did Jason. We both sacrificed our families, our freedoms. We've given up. Jason, who knows what you could have made with the way that you were able to work and build. And I just want everybody to know that all of this, everything that we've done, we are more than happy, both of us right now. I'll say it first. Everything we've done has been for the truth of the Father and his truth. Nothing that we have done has been to benefit us in any way. And I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, so I don't know. We don't have a massive amount of content to go through tonight. What we're going to be going through is Daniel Vallis of Informed Christians put out another video where we've covered Daniel many times now. It's he's got good information, and he's got some stuff that you can actually see that he's manipulated it, and that right there is a huge red flag. We're going to be pointing out the things that are true, discernible, match up, and the things that don't. So we're going to be going through some of his content. This isn't really an attack piece against him. We're just going to straighten some stuff out that we see that has been twisted. So we're going to be going through a video of his. It's roughly an hour long, but what we're going to be doing is, as we go through it, we want to go into Stellarium, and we want to look at these signs closely. And we want people to understand how to see these signs in the sky, what it is that we're looking at. So we've heard comments from multiple people that when they see all this, as far as the signs taking place in the heaven, some people, like, they get the concept of it, but they just don't understand the path of the luminaries and how they wrap it around the observer and how their rotation rate and what the ecliptic is. So there's so much terminology as far as what is the ecliptic? What are the constellations on the ecliptic? Is this pagan to be looking at the ecliptic? All these types of things that a person has to go through and learn and discern. And then as you pick up the terminology and as you continue to study it and become more aware of how this all operates, you'll start to see how reality actually is wrapping around you. And you are seeing a story that's being painted out in the sky both day and night. And these are signs that have been left for us in the scriptures. So that's the whole biblical aspect of it, that so many of these things that we read in the scriptures, they sounded like absolutely so fantastical. What is this? The woman clothed and this. And then we come to find out that this is a constellation and these are the stars. And it lets us know details as far as certain signs that we're looking towards. And tonight we're going to be keying in on a super special one that really began this evening, December 5th at sundown. So we had cloudy skies. We didn't get to do the new moon sighting ourselves. We've gone to websites and we've got documentation that the new moon has been sighted. There may be some of our audience that still could be waiting for the sun to be going down. They could still go out and see whether or not they get to see this new moon sighting. But what that means right there is this is the first day of the ninth month, Kislev. And that's a very, very important detail, because we are off a month from what is considered to be the Hebrew calendar. Right? They go by a fixed 19-year Metonic cycle, and they are off by a month this year. And that's the reason why we are a month behind the Gregorian right now on the Hebrew calendar. So Kislev, there's a number of important events that take place historically in Kislev, and we're going to be paying attention to all this. So today, boom, sun goes down. That's the first, and there's all these signs taking place in the heaven right now that are so end timesy. It's the most end timesy thing you've ever seen in your whole life. So I hope you're all buckled up because
Yeah.
Go
Just
ahead.
to let people know. So the signs actually didn't just start. Okay. I know you're specifically talking about this group. So what we had was in 2015, we had the Bethlehem sign, right? It was a conjunction of two stars in Leo, right? Which was, what were the two stars? Venus and Jupiter?
Venus and Jupiter, I believe.
So, and that happened. And then what ended up happening?
June 30th, 2016.
I think it was, okay, I thought it was in 2015, but nonetheless, it continued on from there. We then ended up having a bunch of other signs leading up to, which was the woman clothed with the 12 stars, the crown with the clothed with the sun, with the moon at her feet. We experienced all these different things. And then we started to really look at, so this is the same pattern that happened 2000 years ago. So this is the pattern of the story that was foretold to happen right now. And what we're finding is that it's actually lining up with the scriptures, like almost identically. And there's no way we can get away from it. No matter what we try to do, it just keeps coming back. It's getting stronger. And when we think, oh, we made it through another season, and every single time, ladies and gentlemen, it just gets more. The scriptures, it never backs away. It just continues to build. So what I want everyone to realize tonight is that everything that we're sharing with you right now, some of it's going to come from Daniel Vallis, but some of the stuff that we're going to talk about here is just stuff that Jason and I are literally looking at the stars, looking at the pictures, and we're going to share with you what we see, right? And that's it. And we're going to witness to them together tonight. So thank you.
Absolutely. Should we get into some sharing of the screen, my brother?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
I shouldn't have to rant too much more, but sometimes it's okay to rant. But I'm excited because there's so much has changed in the 4 years. So I'm just thankful tonight. That's all. It was a surprise. There was already a big celebration going on, anyways, with everything that's been happening. It's been a super celebration. I've had one of the most happy weekends ever. Super, super happy. As well as this Mexican church. Last night they were throwing this huge party. Huge. They had at our gym, they had the cops show up to block off the road so that people could park there and walk over to the party. And they were you could hear them all dancing and singing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was a thing. I was shocked it was like a Christmassy thing, but they were all into it yesterday.
Yeah, they said they were celebrating the birth of Yahawahashai, but they said Jesus, obviously, right? We didn't correct them that time, but it was interesting.
Yeah, so there's something going on with that. So before we get into the Daniel Vallis and the signs in the skies, if you listen to the intro, you heard Jaron say some really nice things about us, but then he goes on to spew some lies. And so at this point in the video, somebody, once this is published, we need a timestamp right here. This needs to be delivered to Jaron and every single person on his entire crew. And they got to come up with some proof right here. Otherwise, they're the liars. So I just want to play a few words here. So you'll see what we're talking about.
And you guys are great guys. But I refuse to go on your show when all you've ever done is tell lies about me. Go look at all your thumbnails. How many thumbnails are you going to put devil horns on me and then ask me to go on your show? You guys have to be so... I've never done... Imagine if I just put somebody's face on my show a bunch of times on the thumbnail with devil horns and then 3 months later be like, this guy's afraid of me, won't come on my channel. Might have something to do, Jaron, with the fact that you put him in devil horns and put satanic pedophile on your thumbnail.
What?
All right. So everybody that's been paying attention, we've been going live on the Awake Souls. We began going live on the Awake Souls because I was on the 2 community guideline strikes. We had been live on the Limitless Channel. If you're not subscribed, you're not cool. Make sure you get subscribed, because what happens is when we get the guideline strikes, we switch back and forth between each other's channels. So we started all these blue thumbnails right here are when the fake flat earth division began. All right. And so I know time's been going by like a blur for everybody, but go ahead.
There was a little section before that was first Skeebers transitioned.
Yeah, that was on your channel.
that after Mac transitioned and we broke it all down, how he was an agent with the Church of Satan, this fake fight started on their side. We just jumped in and said, hey, wait a minute, we're going to actually pay attention to what's going on here.
All right, so this was November 12th when this started taking place. This was our first coverage of it. Now I'll just go back here and show everybody that all the thumbnails, almost all of them, have Jaren in them. Right, there's only a couple that don't, and so he's in it. But show me one spot in any of all this coverage that we've done of Jaren where we've put devil horns on him, where we've manipulated him in any way other than to just trim him out of a picture, and it's his actual expression when he's sticking his tongue out, when this or that.
Hang on,
go ahead.
We've got a correction.
What?
Looking in the chat, I think Mimi said something like it's been 5 years. So 2016 to 2017 is 1, 2017. So 2018 is 2, 2019 is 3, 2020 is 4, 2021 is actually 5 years. Sorry. Thank you, Mimi. Again, look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason and I are able to take correction.
We stand corrected.
Okay, go ahead. It's been 5 years. Okay. Yeah.
No, that sounds...
I'm still not skinny. You guys like...
Still working on it.
I'm still working on it. I'm just playing around.
So look at all the thumbnails, right? You can.
I'm looking.
We haven't taken any videos down. Now notice the first video is just hashtag Church of Satan exposed, and then they're numbered: part 2, part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.7, and 7.77. So. It's obvious that none have been taken down in this series. We haven't adjusted any of them. He says that we've been putting devil horns on them, and what did he say? Putting satanic
pedophile.
Pedophile.
Mm-hmm. Where? Jaren? Where would we haven't even said you were one of those. We said that your Baby Truther show had symbolism that matched the FBI documents. That's what we said.
No.
We talked about the scribble font, and we showed the dancing stuff and some of the other content, and we didn't agree with it. That's what we said. We didn't say you were a pedophile, bro.
No, part 7.77, which is really focused on Jaren. So his thumbnail gets some extra attention in it. And you would think if there's any place that we would be putting devil horns on him, it would have to be this one.
Oh, I was wearing the same shirt that night. Go figure. That was not staged. Okay, that happened. That was a coincidence.
All right, so no devil horns. And where is the satanic pedophile? Like, so
where?
This is.
I don't see it.
I see his witchcraft store. I see the globe on the desk with him and Missa.
His orange shirt and his San Francisco 49ers or whatever.
I see them sticking their tongues out like that. I see the things that they were selling on their website. I don't see anything. Everybody right now, this area needs to be time-stamped and delivered to Jaren, and if he cannot provide the proof of it, nor can any one of his followers provide the proof of it, they can all just be thrown away as garbage, satanic shills. They're going to burn in the lake of fire.
Well, I mean, just to be specific here, Jaren, what I told Kelsey today in the comment on her video, not one single person on their team. The only person was Alex Stein. Played a small clip, maybe like me and Jason might have said 2 sentences in his whole entire rant. None of them have ever provided a screenshot, a timestamp, my voice, or Jason's voice, ever, for anything that they've said. Now, you know, it would make a little bit of sense if there was somebody that was getting completely exposed as a shill, a con artist, an absolute ravaging Satanist, outright, openly, Aleister Crowley telling you to go and read that or you're not a truther, except he says skip the parts where they talk about ritual demon stuff, even though he's selling the ritual demon stuff in his store. Right. This is the kind of narcissistic nonsense that we get from this guy. He won't talk about us because apparently he makes it out that we don't have enough views. He just does nothing but view shame us. And we don't care, bro. We never cared about the views. We care about having fun. And the other thing, he calls it a show. Jason and I, we're not being paid. This isn't a show. This is a podcast, right? That's it. We do it for the truth. So like you had said, you made a bunch of good points. These people, if they continue to just lie after lie after lie, they've never played any of our clips. They've never showed any evidence. When we put through what, like 50 hours?
Well, he's just getting to the point now where they'll occasionally say Awake Souls or the Limitless Channel.
I haven't heard my name once. I've heard Ronnie. I've heard Awake Souls. But what I want everyone to focus on with my words here really carefully, they haven't played one word from us. Alex played a couple of small clips where I said to him that pimping ain't cool, because it's not. Pimping at women is disgusting, or men, whatever it is you want to call your pimping thing. I don't trust them. It's gross. None of them have ever showed any evidence for anything that they've said. It's funny because what Jaron said as a lie might actually be true, or what he said that he thought was true, they're all lies, every single thing. So I just put it back onto the other side. If you guys want to make these claims that so they've said we're gay, where's your proof of that? Right? I've never been gay. I've openly said that. Jason has said the exact same thing. We're not gay at all. That's not what we're interested in. We've given up that passion to have that in our lives to fight for truth. And we've been openly stating this the entire time, at least 5 years. If you go back and watch that interview, you're going to see, well, I mean, Jason, you were at the end of, you actually left a marriage because of the truth, right? We both did these things, and this is what we're going to continue to witness to. So again, the last time I'm going to say this, I'm not going to say it again, unless we do the hangout tomorrow, the podcast, and we go through what Jaron has to say a little bit more closely. But Jaron has never shown one piece of evidence for anything we've said. We have 30 hours, 40, 50, I don't even know how many hours of all their own words, documented, time-stamped, and shown to the world with SEO and everything. We didn't hide anything. You can't just say something without backing it up. You're supposedly a leader in a truth movement. The people come to you and pay you because you're telling them that you're here for truth, right? And you're just nothing but a liar. You don't have any evidence. And everybody knows, Jaron, exactly what you are. And the one thing that I thought was really disgusting, he took it to Jake and said, let's Thomas Scott can come over to my house, he said, and we'll do a measure off. Like, listen to this guy. Let's do a measure off of what we've each done in this world. How many buildings have you built, Jaron? How many people have you loved? What have you done? Right? Let's see your spreadsheet of how much you've done for truth and love without expectation of being repaid, right? Compared to what you've done for money and for shillery and for all your connery. I'm going to stop ranting.
Well, but and I think if they're going to measure body parts, it should be height. Height is what we should be measuring.
And I mean, I really, in the beginning of the Flat Earth movement, I was absolutely on Jaron's team. Right at the very end of it, Ben Matrix Decode had to like threaten to quit unless she brought me on Pat Steer's show, because I was an original Flat Earth guy and I got shunned by the group the entire time. They treated me like crap. Everything that I said that was wrong, they're still trying to teach. Right? And Jaron will call me a Benedict Arnold, like someone that will turn on somebody. Well, Jason and I have been working together for 5 years now. Jason, would you like to witness to what kind of character that I have? You don't even have to. I don't.
Well, it's pretty simple. Here. It all stands forth because we have talked about this roughly 3 times a week for 5 years now, and so it is all laid out there. And you have taken correction and followed the path of truth where it's taken you. So because you were trying to support Jaron, and because you were trying to support Pat, you got to the point where you couldn't anymore because you could now see that the A map didn't work, and you took it to them, and that's why you got rejected. It's why I got rejected. Jake says it's why he got rejected. All right, so if you come out and show the proof of how the AE map model doesn't work, you get rejected. That's what happens.
Well, and one last thing. Jaron's absolute defense for the train agenda thing. I don't even want to say the right words to get put into the wrong algorithm. Actually, it doesn't even matter. Jaron's fight for transgenderism is the most pathetic thing that I've ever seen. What he did was he put up cross-dressed men, right, and said, this is what a tranny looks like. Right. It was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen anyone do in my life. I could not believe. I don't even, if those other people that he was saying was women, like Cameron Diaz or Jessica Alba, I don't even know, because that whole argument is just a divisionary tactic, a diversion. It's a gate to hold you. But this guy acted like there aren't women that have been in the swimsuit model magazines, that haven't been in the Miss Universe, that haven't been all over even Playboy. He's trying to say that the only transgender women out there are the ones that look like men cross-dressing. And if anyone has an ounce of truth or morals in themselves, I would not go anywhere near this guy's content ever again. After seeing that display, him defending that the only men that have been trans are the cross-dressers. He didn't show one decent looking one. That's how dishonest this man is.
All right, so let's go back through this one more time. We'll cover it again probably in a future time. Let's go back to the beginning of this. We're going to get the whole thing in context. He throws a few jabs.
Fucking totally traded on people. You guys. That you guys can't even grasp that much.
So right there, he was saying that we can't grasp the fact that East and West are circles. Mm-hmm. We've been telling them East and West are circles on a sphere. They're circles on an AE map. But on our map, there's another possibility, Jaron. East and West is simply a heading, right? They do all kinds of things, as well as when you add in that North is a magnetic north. And here's a spoiler alert. Jason's going to be getting into this into detail, which I've already covered. There's also, you have to have a compass for the South, Jerry. Just
power magnets.
You have to have a different compass for the South, Jaron. And that doesn't work on your AE map model at all. No, there's a big problem.
Yeah, and he knows it, but he's got to do what he's got to do. So he's going to go on a rampage against us. He's going to say some really nice things about us. It's crazy.
Imagine you walked a mile away from the North Pole and you went east. Yeah, how can you be so dumb to say it's not a circle? Ronnie and Jason. Ronnie, put down the cheeseburger for a second and listen.
Ooh, cheeseburger attack.
Oh.
I don't know if Jaron should be throwing cheeseburger attacks.
I'll end it right now. Jaron, your dick's bigger than mine. Okay? You win. Do you feel good? Does that make you feel like more of a man? Right?
What about his belly? Is that bigger?
Well,
it could be.
You see, I don't want to play the ego game. That's why I'm willing to say you win, Jaron. You win that competition. But now let's do one about the mind and the truth.
Yeah. What about high size? What about impact force in a punch? How about all of these things? Why don't we measure everything?
To me, do you understand what I'm saying? That you guys can't even grasp that much, and you want us to go on your show and debate you.
You want us to go on your show to debate you. We've, for 5 years now, been showing that the Freemason New World Order AE map and model doesn't work. You just sit there and ignore it. You wouldn't say our names. Now you're saying Ronnie and Jason. Sometimes now they might even say Awake Souls. You said that you haven't heard the Limitless Channel yet. So, nope. But they're saying Ronnie and Jason so much that everybody knows who Ronnie and Jason is. And it's having no effect anymore because we're just overwhelming them.
If you type in Ronnie Flat Earth or Jason Flat Earth, our channels will come up. Okay, we SEO'd it up. But it's just the funny thing about all this is like we don't want to have this big. So me and Jaron had a podcast with me a long time ago, like more than 5 years ago, right? Around the same time, just maybe a month or two before. He called me. It was at 3 a.m. He finally responded to me and said, "I'll go live with you." I called him out on Facebook and tagged him, and he got butthurt. And he came in and did this stupid thing where he did a map twirl. And he said, look at your map now. It was ridiculous. Jaron, we don't want to have a fight with you. We want to have you come witness in front of the whole realm what we're going to show you. And it's funny because before I even met Jason already showed David and Jaron the exact same thing I'm talking about. Before any of this happened, you already had that moment. It was just private, right? Jaron said, "Oh, you ruined my day."
Weak.
Yeah.
It must have been serious in his world.
So this is the last time I'm going to say this. It's not about who has a bigger dick. It's about the truth, and the truth is the truth, and we have to bend to its will. No matter what we want, Jaron keeps saying, my mind is open. I don't have to believe what you believe. No, the truth is the truth. It doesn't have to have you believe it. But if you're out here saying that it's a lie, you best believe the truth is going to inspire men to prove you wrong, because it is the roaring lion, not us. And I've got nothing against Jaron or any of them. I told Kelsey, I don't care whether you're whatever. And the fact that you live in Hawaii and you have blonde hair doesn't give you the right to step into a debate on a topic, right? You don't know anything about it. Jaron, whether or not you're a Aleister Crowley following Satanist is beyond what I care about. I care about the truth that you speak, right? Because that's what we are here for. Just the truth. We were born and came here to witness to the truth, and we're going to keep doing it.
Let's see what he's got here.
But you can't grasp the east and western circles, which they are on a globe or a flat map.
All right, so we'll be doing a hangout where we show what works on the globe, what works on the AE map and model, and what works on a stereographic map.
Mm-hmm. And there are 2 spots on the map where it does do a oblate circle.
Mm-hmm.
Until you realize that, I'm not talking
And we've been talking about that for 5 years.
to you.
Until we realize
You're brain dead.
We know, Jared. We know.
You guys, you argue that the sun doesn't circle a person in the north. Why would I talk to you?
All right, so here's a topic about the circling of the sun. We saw faked footage from
Lots of fake.
D. Marble, right? Remember, he
we
altered the footage. We documented it. He didn't get to see it. Now, there are models that predict it. There are. But we have not seen any actual sun never setting footage from the north or the south. It's always CGI or it has cuts, both the north and the south. So we do understand that models predict that it's possible. We just don't have any footage to go by of it. And we've been saying the same thing for 5 years.
Yeah.
You say that
Go ahead.
I mean, no, it's fine.
the stars don't go in a circle. You can go do star trails for yourself.
Exactly.
We do. And we've been saying that not only do the stars that are called the fixed stars, Jaron, in the north rotate counterclockwise around Polaris, and the stars in the south side of the map rotate clockwise around Sigma Octans. In the north, there's the Big Dipper that's commonly seen, and in the south, there's the Southern Crux, which is a cross symbol that also circles that region of the sky. Your AE map model is a squished globe splaying the southern part of the supposed globe to infinity. It only has one pole. You would have to put the sky of the south on the bottom side of the AE map model to try to make it work.
And then it would be a globe.
It'd be a globe again.
Why would we talk to you? You are Yahawahashai's and YaHaWaHa's warriors. You're the witnesses,
We're warriors. We're the witnesses.
2 witnesses in the park, 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the book. You guys are righteous,
We're righteous,
holy,
holy,
perfect,
perfect,
never tell a lie.
never tell a
Never
lie.
lied.
Ronnie's not a Benedict Arnold who fucking totally traded on people.
No, Ronnie is a person that left you, left Pat, left the whole fake flat earth movement. He is. And that doesn't make him a Benedict Arnold. That makes him a truth seeker.
And you guys are great guys. But I refuse to go on your show when all you've ever done is tell lies about me. Go look at all your thumbnails. How many thumbnails are you going to put devil horns on me and then ask me to go on your show? You guys have to be so... I've never done... Imagine if I just put somebody's face on my show a bunch of times on the thumbnail with devil horns and then question 3 months later be like, this guy's afraid of me, won't come on my channel. Might have something to do, Jaron, with the fact that you put him in devil horns and put satanic pedophile on your thumbnail.
So go ahead. No, we didn't. No one ever did that.
Never happened.
So that's what that's his a plea to his audience. All the people who are saying, like, go there and show them up, Jaron. You're the guy. You're the man, right? Go there and tell them how they're stupid and show them why they're wrong. And Jaron has to say, I can't go over there. They said I was a satanic pedophile.
And they put devil horns on me.
When? Maybe a long time ago, there might be a video. I don't know. If
He's
you could
probably
show us
put
some
them on
evidence,
us.
show us the video. Timestamp it, man. Like, it's... Again, I got nothing against Jaron. I have everything against the AE map model because we identified that they were trying to tie it to the scriptures, right? And the government, the agents that came in that ruined flat Earth, making fake documentaries that just mocked the truth. Jaren was a major role in it. He might have been I know they had it broken up into different characters. Jaren was probably the lead character in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go ahead and move on now to Daniel Vallis and make this a little bigger. So this video was published December 2nd. It talks about the signs that are taking place as far as we've got both the moon being turned to blood, the sun darkened, and then there's this whole place that it's taking place in the ecliptic. All right, so where the solar eclipse was, what sign is that in, and then all these other things. So the things that draw our attention to one of these constellations along the ecliptic would be where the sun, moon, and wandering stars are, because the rest are fixed. They continue to rotate at a fixed rate. They don't vary. This is a heliocentric debunk. The fact that we see the Southern Cross south of the equator is an AE map model debunk. Right? But what we're looking at is where these different moving things are along the ecliptic and what they're pointing out. So we're going to start going through his video, and we'll point out the big important things that we should all be watching for, because we really, really, really are at the time where his coming is quickly. We're talking about the Father, we're talking about the Son, that coming is quickly. Daniel's pointing it out. He put out another video after this one, just before we went live, and he's once again summarizing and re-emphasizing certain points. But let's go ahead and sort of dissect this one, and then we'll bring up Stellarium, and we'll show people. And then if there's questions in the chat, if you want to see how this all works, if there's something you're not understanding, we'll go into more detail. But let's go ahead and start checking this out.
So there'll be a lot of people seeing it happen, just not it reaching totality, which will only be in Antarctica. Which we talked about in our recent videos, seems to imply that this is an international sign. It's meant for the whole world because it's not particularly pointing to regions and nationalities that we're familiar with. It seems to be pointing to international locations. So just by itself, this appears to be an international sign in nature. But it's also caught our attention with our studies that this total solar eclipse will be happening exactly at the leg of a Fucus, the foot even, that is resting on Antares, the heart of the adversary. And this goes exactly with the pictures that prophecy and scripture foretells about how our Redeemer will make his enemies his footstool. And we
All right, so one of the things I got to point out right away, we're going to go ahead and get Stellarium going, is, let me see how this sizes up.
It's sizing up. It looks pretty good.
This whole Antares thing. So what he's showing right here is the eclipse taking place at the leg of Ophiuchus, who's throwing down the serpent, and he's pointing to this being in the middle of Scorpius, and then he has Libra superimposed with Scorpius, and he has Mars inside the claws of Scorpius, right? Mars is inside the claws here. So in reality, Scorpius, then Libra, then Virgo, right? We're going to show you that the bottom of this lampstand belongs out here at the tip of this claw, and then Virgo beyond that. So this has been squished and condensed and does not match reality. I do not like that he's done that.
We don't know why Daniel's done this, and if he's listening, I would love for him to do a video and explain. There's a few things that he's left out, and there's a lot of stuff that Daniel puts in that's great, right? He's looking for the return of the Christ. He sees the signs in the heavens. He's looking in the skies, right? He's doing what he's supposed to do, but he does manipulate things, and we don't understand why. There's no need to do that. Prophecy just fulfills itself.
So let's go back here to the 4th, and here you can see that the sun, when it's All right, this is past the time that it was eclipsed. If we go back to the morning, let's go back, and we're not going to see it eclipsed because we're too far north. You're going to see where the moon was. So watch as it comes up here. Here's your sunrise. Where's the moon? It was showing up earlier. Is it not going to show up here?
Someone's talking about the validity of stellarium. It absolutely matches. You can go out with your own eyes, Frank, and look up in the night sky, and you'll see exactly that it matches. Right? They've taken the stereographic measurements that we show, and they've just projected them to the heavenly sphere that they wrap around us. So, and the skies are designed to be spherical around us, right? And the Earth is designed to be flat and stationary, right? So that the water comes up so high to the land, and the land rises above everything the way that the scripture said. But are you ready?
Sure. Well, you can see here that the sun at 12:04, it is in the leg of Ophiuchus, and it's in this first knuckle after the claw. It's not in the heart of Scorpius. And you can also see here that Scorpius, this claw, comes right to the bottom of Libra. And then because of the time of day right here, you're not going to see Mars. But let's go ahead and put it down. And we should see Mars in Libra. And it's not so bright out. There it is.
There's Mars. Boom. And in actuality, guys, you can go out in the sky and, like the new moon sighting, because the sun has to be down and the color of the sky has to go dark enough, all of a sudden these stars pop on, and they're not millions of light years away. They're right there in the sky.
So the point I want to make here is that he's done some manipulation, because Mars is in Libra. You see how it's above the scales right now? I'm going to jump ahead here.
Kind of on the balancing line, actually, perfectly.
Yeah, now you can see that the claw is right at the bottom of the stand for the scales, and that the sun is right in the leg at this first knuckle after the claw. It's not in the heart of it. So now we can get back into it, and you're going to see that he's squished Libra and all this along the timeline, and that's not reality. That part's not real. This part right here, the sun, the eclipse right here, that is real. We do have Sagittarius right behind. We have the Milky Way, they call it. We have Venus and Sagittarius. We have Saturn in, what is it? Copernicus? What is it called? And then Jupiter just about to go into the hip of Aquarius, the water bearer. So let's keep going now.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of in it.
We are at that
The video's called Omega.
exact time at the last generation
Omega
where
Ode.
Yeah.
that is expected to take place too. So when we see the heavens declaring to apparently an international audience the sun event blinking in the heavens, as it were, right at the heart of the enemy, this definitely catches our attention, because this is not normal. We have seen in the past, back in 2019, we were looking at other pictures when we were watching Jupiter pass through that area, when Jupiter, the king planet, was at the foot of Ophiuchus over Antares, and we were wondering then, does that apply to this portion? And so we were watching and also studying what Scripture said about that prophecy. So we are familiar with the prophecies and what Scripture says, because how the Lord has brought our attention to it. But now we're at a point where there's actually a rare celestial event happening right at that. You know, it's one thing for Jupiter just to be passing through the area, but it's another thing when there's a total solar eclipse happening right at the foot. That's actually an astronomical nod to pay attention to that. Just like how the sun was darkened when Jesus Christ died on the cross. There was a celestial event that happened in real time, drawing the world's attention to look up and also see that the sun was at Aries, the lamb, the ram, at that exact moment when the...
So that's an important point. The sun always has to be in Aries in order for it to be Passover. That's the rule of the Hebrew calendar.
Lamb of God was being crucified. So we see those same parallels when we look at what the heavens are declaring right now, understanding that, yes, his heel was bruised in the past, but there's also a part 2, that we know he is waiting until his enemies be made his footstool. He is expecting till that very moment when he's going to start that, when he's going to start opening the judgment seals against his adversary. And we see a same exact darkening of the sun event right here, pointing to that exact expectation. This catches our attention. But we have also noticed that the enemy is fully aware of the scriptural and the biblical and the prophetic importance of this hour. The enemy is not just making up stuff. A lot of people try to look into enemy messaging and see, well, do they really know? Yes, they do have an idea of the season, but as Christians, we should be asking the deeper question of why do they know? They know because of what scripture and prophecy says about the last generation and also the pictures that are involved. And the enemy is fully aware that the heavens declare the glory of God and that it's a celestial clock. Just like Christ's crucifixion was declared along the clock, there are significant points in prophecy that are going to be registered on the celestial clock and declared in the heavens. Particularly when we are expecting part 2 and we know there was a celestial event with part 1. Now when Christ died on the cross, there was also a supernatural element involved because that was not a natural total solar eclipse, but it was a darkening of the real sun. And that.
So this is a great point that he touched on. I give him credit for bringing this up. So what we know is that solar eclipses can only take place when we have no moon. So at the end of the month, the moon goes close enough to the sun because the moon goes slower. The sun laps her. When she goes closer to him, we can't see her. The moon diminishes and then you can't see it at all. You see like the last moon, I call it, right? And then you have the no moon. And so when the moon, depending on its angle and its height in the sky, will pass in front of the sun and we will get a solar eclipse. Now, the time that Christ did the passion, he was nailed to the tree of good and knowledge and evil, and he became the fruit of it, was during a full moon. So at a full moon time, the full moon rises directly as the sun sets. It's also the middle of the month, right? This is very easy. I just wanted to just ring that bell.
So it means that based on the sky that we have, you cannot have a total solar eclipse. So he had to acknowledge that it had to be supernatural in origin, right?
That's right. So instead of having a lunar eclipse, we still see the crown around it. This event, it completely covered all the light in the realm. People were like running around blind when that happened. Well, they killed the Christ. They killed the Son of the living Father, right? So anyways, we'll continue.
Revealed the real stars in that area, Aries right there. So even though there was a supernatural component to it, it still used this celestial clock, and the heavens still declared the glory of God in real time with that prophetic event of when he was bruised in his heel, and with the expectation we're looking for when he's going to use that foot and crush the head of his adversary, which we see a very strong parallel right at this very important time. The enemy also seems to be fully aware of what celestial and prophetic time it is, with also the pictures of this region involving crowning, corona. There's going to be a corona of the total solar eclipse right in between the two crown constellations that are in the heavens, and there's only two. There's Corona Australis, the southern crown, and Corona Borealis, the northern crown. And this total solar eclipse is taking place right between the two, right at the foot that is crushing the adversary.
I just want to stop here and point something out, that we have a crown above a serpent, and we have a crown coming with what really looks like it can be the white horse rider with a bow, right? And it has Venus in the constellation. So the crown of diadems is the one that's given to Yahawahashai, right? And it's this one right here is the New World Order crown. This is like the Greco-Roman laurel thing. And so you have the serpent. Which crown do you believe should be on which serpent? So it looks like the graphics may have these reversed, huh?
But still, I can tell you also that the laurel wreath or the olive branch crown is just as beautiful. You can keep the gold and the diamonds and the gems, right? Either way, the crown is with the white horse rider here.
All right,
so a crown above the snake in the north, and the snake's always trying to ascend above to the heights of heaven. He wants to be worshipped like the Most High. That's what the prophecy says.
So we have two characters we're looking for: the Antichrist, who's going to be like named when he comes on the scene, and the Christ. All right, so this appears to be the two crowns shown in heaven in this story, and this one precedes this one, and that fits scripture, that the Antichrist is crowned and named. This is going to be a 7-year rule that the Antichrist has, and then there's going to be the crowning of the white horse rider for 7 years. And so this appears, this solar eclipse is taking place right here, right now, with all the other events going on in the world. So let's keep paying attention. It seems like something.
But I mean, I ask you, would you be more natural, earthy, or do you need to have, Jason, do you have any gold chains or rings or any jewelry?
I don't wear anything.
No, me neither, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why would you put this honking thing? Let's say you became this character. Would you not rather have some leaves or some flowers in your hair over top of this heavy ass gold trinkety thing? That's all I'm bringing to the. I'm just trying to add some levity to the situation. But this is a super serious sign that we're seeing in the sky right now. We're seeing a dominant rider coming in with the bow, and it also happens to have the moon tonight, is as the sight, as well as being on top of the bow string. Right? It's amazing.
Prophetically, there are two crownings going on. The enemy will be crowned. The Antichrist will be crowned when he comes conquering and to conquer. That is a crown of victory, though. That is a Stephanos crown. That is not a diadema crown. Jesus Christ is the King of Kings. He wears a diadema crown. The serpent is trying to get and desires to get that crown, but he will not succeed in that venture for sure. But that's still not going to keep him from trying, and he is also going to be crowned, in a sense, for a while during the tribulation time. So even with the scriptural and prophetic celestial event coming up, the enemy seems to be aware of the significance for them as well, and their expectations and their take on it, as you will, that they tell their disciples. Satan deceives his disciples. He tells them that they killed Jesus Christ the first time, and they're going to try to do it again and be more permanent, so his disciples are deceived with the same story and the same crux, but they are going to be deceived to their own destruction. And of course, on top of all the other prophetic and scriptural nods to crowning at this time, we have the warning for the churches as well. Hold fast that which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Emphasis for Christians, emphasis on crowns about Christ, and even on the adversary as well. This is a time where three different parties are coming together, and crowns are involved, coronas are involved. Are we paying attention? The enemy is, and no doubt you've probably heard about Omicron.
All right, so don't get nervous right now, everybody. This section here is just going to be talking about the verbiage regarding Omicron. Right? There is going to be no medical information given.
You don't have to say it.
None.
Hopefully we beat the algorithm though. Let's keep going. This is a great video.
The corona variant that's recently come out, getting a lot of fear-mongering going on in the world. But if we go to the World Health Organization website where they talk about these new variants and their names, they mentioned that they already have an established nomenclature system for naming and tracking the genetic lineages, and those are currently used by scientists and in scientific research. But for the public consumption, in news, and just for your average person, they decided to pick easy-to-pronounce and non-stigmatizing labels for variants of interest and variants of concern. At the present time, this expert group, convened by WHO, has recommended using letters of the Greek alphabet, i.e. alpha, beta, gamma, delta, which will be easier and more practical to be discussed by non-scientific audiences. So this is something that we need to keep in mind with this COVID scare that's going on right now. The scientific community already has established ways of naming variants, but for some reason recently they decided to pick common names that could be discussed by non-scientific audiences, particularly the letters of the Greek alphabet. Even though they already have an established nomenclature for naming them, they're going to add these names for the non-scientific audiences. These names are meant to be heard by the average person and to enter into the average conversation going on in the world right now. So this also catches our attention that these names are deliberate for public consumption. And they started with alpha, then went to beta, gamma, delta, and they then went to Omicron. Now they have other variants that they were tracking, but these are their variants of concern. And things started out pretty normal with alpha, beta, and gamma, but when they got to delta, that's got the world's attention, and they really hyped that for the past few months. Delta, delta, delta. And really drummed that into the average person's mind about delta. And then, the next one that supposedly caught their concern is all the way down on the list with Omicron. And supposedly not the next variant, but it's the next variant of concern. They jumped straight from delta all the way to Omicron. And especially if you watch the news right now, it's getting a lot of hype. Which again, considering these names are meant for public consumption, these particular names of Delta and Omicron are meant for the public to be talking about, and especially with the news emphasis to be obsessed with. And of course, most people know that Delta is a triangular shape, reminiscent of a pyramid. So they jumped from Delta after they gave it a lot of hype all the way to Omicron, which is represented by an O. Omicron is the 15th letter of the Greek alphabet. This letter is derived from the Phoenician letter O. The word literally means little o. O-micron. Micron meaning little, as opposed to great O. O-mega. Mega meaning great. So you have micron O versus mega O. O-micron, omega. And so already from a Christian perspective, especially with the signs that we see on the last page of the Bible that even say Alpha and Omega, we're like, this is very, very suspicious. The timing of this, right around the time of a total solar eclipse, which has a corona. They're emphasizing Omicron. Now, Omicron is also used in astronomy to designate the 15th star in the constellation group, its ordinal placement and irregular function of both magnitude and position. Such stars include Omicron Andromeda, Omicron Ceti, Omicron Persei. There's a number of constellations that have a Omicron star in them. Leo, Aquarius, Draco. A lot of constellations will have an Omicron designated star just because they have over 15.
So it was what? Leo, Draco, was... Oh, and...
Orion,
Yeah.
I think.
Or no, was it the water bearer? Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Stars. So that in of itself is not necessarily unusual and doesn't necessarily by itself narrow down the field, but we do keep it in mind that it is used in astronomy. Now we also look at Omega because it's related to Omicron. As the final letter in the Greek alphabet, Omega is often used to denote the last, the end, or the ultimate limit of a set, in contrast to Alpha, the first letter of the Greek alphabet, C, Alpha, and Omega. So this is something we need to keep on the table when the world is suddenly emphasizing little o, Omicron, Omicron, which the counterpart to that is the great O, Mega O, the great O. And take note that both of these letters, Omicron and Omega, are both O, the letter O. One's a little o, one's a big O. And also in the occult, they reverse things a lot. So when we see them emphasizing the little o, Omicron, micro o, we highly need to suspect that they are really meaning the opposite of that, which is the mega O, the great O. Both of these are O, but they really seem to be emphasizing the mega O, the omega, which also designates the end as well. Now, Omega is interesting because Omega was not part of the early 8th century BC Greek alphabets. It was introduced in the late 7th century BC in the Ionian cities of Asia Minor to denote a long, open, mid-back rounded vowel. It is a variant of Omicron, broken up at the side with the edges subsequently turned outward. Now, this definitely caught my attention because what is the World Health Organization calling Omicron? They're calling it a variant of COVID, of the coronavirus, a variant. So they seem to be hinting at variants. So when we look at Omicron, what is a variant of Omicron? It is Omega, the mega O. Right after they emphasized the Delta, they suddenly jumped to Omicron as a variant of the coronavirus, but the variant of Omicron, which is really opposite of it too, is Omega, the mega O. Now again, both of these are the letter O. One is big, one is small, but they are both the letter O. But for the letter O, its graphic form has remained fairly constant from Phoenician times until today. The name of the Phoenician letter was Ein, meaning eye, and indeed its shape originates simply as a drawing of a human eye, possibly inspired by the corresponding Egyptian hieroglyph, Proto-Sinaitic script. So, this is suspicious because both Omicron and Omega are both O's, which means they both derived.
So, just to explain that a little bit more carefully, that's not even a word, more carefully. So the name Omega, which is I am the Alpha and the Omega, which is the first and the last, was a derivative or taken from the name Omicron. Omicron was the original Omega, and then they changed it to add in a different type of a vowel when they transliterated it to another language. So it's the same thing, and it actually was the symbol of the eye, right?
Yeah, and so Joseph Bender says, a little bit of a short circuit there. There's another graphic coming up where he's going to go over it again in detail. I'm not going to say that graphic's not going to short circuit you as well. So just after having heard his content a couple times on this topic, like Ronnie just said, Omicron was the original. Omega came afterwards, and we have a big O and a little o, but they're all O's, and all the O's came from the I. So that right there is a short circuit that if you can fight through, and you can just get the fact that both the big O and the little o all originated from the I, it might help. It might pull you out of that short circuit. I hope it does.
From the same Phoenician origin, meaning eye. They are both an eye. One is a micro eye, the other is a great eye. And since they seem to be emphasizing the variant and pointing to the great O, they're also seemingly emphasizing the great I. So to recap, they emphasized the corona Delta variant back in April of 21. Now recently they've jumped to Omicron as a variant of the coronavirus, both with a very heavy-handed emphasis in the news. A lot of fear-mongering with them. But Omicron is the same as an O or circle symbol. You will see it in a flattened O shape, but also a perfect circle shape as well. It's the same thing. The Phoenician O meant I, and that same pattern is still present today. Understanding the letter omega is a variant of Omicron. Micro O, little o. The mega O, the great O, is a variant of Omicron. Both of them are forms of O, so that further reinforces the emphasis on the I, is what they seem to be emphasizing. And when we combine this with the last one that they put a very heavy emphasis on as well, we start to get some suspicious pictures, an idea of what they really seem to be emphasizing, an I with a pyramid. But we also know that they're using Omicron as a variant of corona, a crowning, which is just like the corona on a total solar eclipse. Not an annular eclipse, that doesn't have a corona. A total solar eclipse will have a corona, when you completely black out the sun. They even tell us this is a corona variant, so we automatically then tie that into the other apparent messaging with the eye on top of a pyramid, and of course that gives us a radiant eye on top of a pyramid with its corona, with its crowning. And of course that reminds us of what's on the dollar bill, the glowing eye on the pyramid inside of a delta, also tied with the recent emphasis on omega.
Now, I want to say that all of this just looks like the absolute most gibberish nonsense, and it seems so so far out there and so crazy. Like, how could any occultist ever think that this was cool? But at the same time, he is actually coming up with the explanation for why the occultists would be switching to the Omicron variant as opposed to having followed the rest of the Greek alphabet. Now, we had also covered before that Israel was saying that the next one to come out would be Omega. They had already decided that. We covered that, but it didn't come out as Omega. It came out as Omicron. And so now what we're getting is Daniel Vallis's interpretation of why they would go from Delta to Omicron. And while this looks like nonsense and really is nonsense, he is pointing out that the occult somehow feel that
Pointing
this, yeah,
top of the eye. They're
right,
saying the top of the eye is here.
yeah,
That's the best.
The completion, the finish. That's what they really seem to be emphasizing at this time, that they have reached the omega, the great O, the great I in the delta on their pyramid. It is about to be crowned, the crowning glory of it. They really seem to be emphasizing in the news that this is a time for their expectation and everything they've worked for. They are now finally at the great O, the omega, the great O. And when we consider what's on the celestial clock at this exact same time, mere days after they announce this Omicron, Omega, Great O, things are very suspicious that they know exactly what time it is on the celestial clock. And they are expecting their Antichrist figure to be crowned. The one who bruised the heel of Messiah before, they are expecting him to do some more things, but they are expecting him to be crowned, and they know what prophetic time it is. That apparently it is time. From what we see the heavens declare, they can see it too. And they saw this day approaching for a long ways off. There's a lot that the Lord has directed our attention to from a Christian biblical perspective to see what the heavens are declaring at this last generation time. And there is so much coming together, more so a depth of what is coming together at this time. Definitely review our latest videos. We've looked at Amos 5:8. Seek him that maketh the 7 stars, and Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into the morning, and maketh the day dark with night, that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. The Lord is his name. Scripture tells us the perspective that we should have on how.
All right, so I just want to point out that he's brought up scripture, Amos 5:8, and what he's showing you is a split scene. All right, if you want to try to figure this out, he's got August 8th and December 8th. So August 8th, he is showing the rising of Sirius as the morning star, and then December 8th, he is showing Sirius setting as the, what was it, the scepter? It was the longest ruling star of the night. We covered this. It's up the longest. So Sirius rules from August 8th to December 8th. And that's what he's showing here. Now, keep in mind right here, the 7 stars, that is the Pleiades. Orion, that is a constellation that we're familiar with. It's going to come up later. So the scriptures refer to these constellations that are laid out across the ecliptic. So this isn't astrology. This isn't fortune telling, that kind of stuff. This
Prophecy.
It's prophecy.
That's it. This was written thousands of years ago. That's it. We're looking at it in the sky. That's it, right? And I put God's servant in a timeout. We don't want to go off into a narrative talking about God real, the fallen angel who deceived Eve. I put it in there. Please pay attention. Stop trying to grill us. We're presenting information tonight. I've already given you enough time now by stopping the stream. Please, everybody in the chat, everybody that's lurking, that's not in the chat, just focus on the content. This is the heavenly signs we're seeing in the sky. We don't need to argue about the true names, right? Give us any title. Give them any title you want, right? We're here for the truth, not for speculation. So, brother, please take it back.
How the heavens declare the glory of God. It even tells us a story. It tells us what constellations are associated with what. And we know from Scripture the 7 stars, particularly in Revelation, are equated with the 7 churches of Revelation, the 7 candlesticks. But the Bible also tells us, even in the Old Testament, Orion is associated with Jesus Christ, with the Messiah, with the Lord. He is the glorious one. And Orion is one of the glorious constellations that you see in the night sky. It really stands out. It is really beautiful to the eye. It represents our Messiah, the light of the world. It's hard to miss Orion, and even God in Scripture calls our attention to seek him that made the 7 stars in Orion. They stand out. They capture the eye. Guess who made these beautiful things in the heavens? It's the Lord. The Lord is his name.
So,
and that's
go to pause it. Just to explain to people how it says, and turneth the shadow of death into the morning. So the sign that he's showing you is as the nightness of darkness of night is ending.
I'll be right back.
Is being turned into the light. So, okay, we got a moment here. Does anybody have any questions? Do they understand? So we've got the Aquarius with Jupiter pouring out water here, right? This is what we're seeing right now. Jupiter is close to this position right now in the night sky, right? And there's so many other things we've gone over. We had the blood moon, then we had the solar eclipse yesterday, right? Which is a corona type event, which could be considered a crowning of the son of perdition, right? That's what the Antichrist is. They're looking for. His time is very short. We can see the grip that the NWO has on everything right now. It's a joke. But I just want to keep everybody, please pay attention to the content we're showing you guys. These are the pictures in the sky. They were written about in the scriptures. This is an Old Testament scripture. This is Amos 5:8. This is very old, and it's prophecy. The things in the scriptures have been proven over and over and over again through supernatural things. The way the Father uses the enemy and twists, he has them do his work, he uses them. And if you're watching, you can see everything. You can see it all. You can watch it take place, and you actually are witnessing with us the things that it's taken 6,000 years of creation to get to. Right? That's how long man has been here. And we're now getting to see the fruits of it. And what we're expecting is a complete reversal of what's happening right now. Right? We see the New World Order clamping down, everything taking place with the orange juice. If you want to buy some bread now, apparently you got to have this thing to get in the store. All this is absolutely prophetic too. Right? But we don't have any fear. We don't have any fear. We know we'll be reincarnated, resurrected. We follow the Christ who said, I am the resurrection and the reincarnation, right? He said, I am. And he explained it to people. Not only that, but we have John the Baptist, who was the reincarnated Elijah, right? So this is something that we'll be continuing to get into in more depth moving forward. But tonight, I just want everybody, I don't see any questions in the chat. So I really want people to pay attention to the signs. Right now we have Pleiades, which is a group of 7 stars. They're very beautiful. They're likened unto the churches and unto a bride, if we want to get specific. Then we have Orion, right? Is a very special character, right? He's very special and very easily to see. Then we got Sirius in the story. And then let's continue. I guess you're back. Unless you have anything that you want to add, I just want everyone to please just pay attention to what we're going through. It's important, okay?
Directly in line with Sirius as the morning star. It's all right after another. All of those are tied to Jesus Christ, the Messiah, and the work that the Lord is doing in prophecy. And these are the pictures that we also see on the last page in the book of Revelation, the morning star and the 7 stars in that same book as well. And couched in between those, we also know that Orion is in this picture as well. And even furthermore, Aquarius is even depicted in this picture. And notice the Lord just goes right through all 4 of these. They are all tied together. It is all a picture of Jesus Christ, the Messiah. What the Lord is doing in prophecy. These are not about the enemy. These signs are about the Messiah. He even tells us in the last chapter, I am the morning star. He is the one who stands in the midst of the churches too. And he is the one who calls our attention. Seek him that maketh the 7 stars. Seek him that made Orion. Seek him that calleth for the waters of the sea and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. And the book of Revelation ends with this very same picture of the one who is pouring out the water, also inviting people to come. Partake of the living water. Put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. The heavens declare the glory of God. And we see Orion couched right in the middle of this picture that we see in the morning, but also we were reminded of 7 stars and Orion and Sirius recently with the partial lunar eclipse that happened on November 19th, right at the 7 stars. And you could look right down that line of Orion to Sirius.
So what he just brought into now was a modern link to this. We just had the eclipse, and it was also happening with the 7 stars of Pleiades at the same time. So that's another connection with what we're talking about tonight.
Sirius, and we saw it rise with the morning. Again, a reminder of what's on the last page of our Bible. The heavens are declaring and bringing our attention to it right now. At the same time that we see the king planet Jupiter also pointing to Aquarius. All of these Old Testament pictures are being emphasized. We're seeing multiple things. It's almost as though different constellations along the eclipse.
Were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Well, it's the wandering stars. They're the placement watchers. So we use editing software, and we have what's called a playhead. When you drag the playhead around, you get to go to that certain section of the video or the graphic that you're creating. So the playhead's in the sky. So it's like a song that plays too. And we look at the playhead by the wandering stars. There's 7 of them. We've discussed that the other night. If you weren't here, you can refer back to that. And I show you the levels and the heights of each of them and their circular, their routes around the flat earth. And so those wandering stars are what highlight the parts of the stories. That's what we're paying attention to, right?
Are lighting up at this time in prophecy, calling our attention. Do you know what time it is? This is the time where so many of these pictures start ringing out. This is the time. This is the time. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. And the Spirit and the bride say, come. And let him that heareth say, come. And let him that is athirst, come. And whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely.
All right, so I just want to point out the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star. We've seen the evidence for why we would pay attention to Sirius, because it does command the longest time period of the night sky from August 8th to December 8th. We get that. But how many people associate the bright and morning star with Venus? All right, so one of the things that I find severely lacking in Daniel's coverage is of where Venus is while this is all taking place. I don't know that he even mentions it.
Well, we can argue that Venus, because it is also the evening and the morning star as well, the brightest one, on the horizon a bunch of times, right? This also takes place. His argument for Sirius, because it has the longest time viewable in the sky out of all of the stars, but it's a fixed star, right? It's not a wandering star, Sirius, it's fixed, but it commands. So again, if we lived 2,000 years ago and we didn't have YouTube and phones and all this other nonsense, the sky would have been our TV. So if I'm just letting people understand, so if you're looking at the sky all the time, let's say maybe you don't even have a roof sometimes where you live, you're sleeping out under the stars, maybe you don't sleep well. I suffer from this sometimes. That star would be up the longest. You'd be like, wow, okay, I've seen that star all night. It has the longest amount of sky viewability. Now, what Jason's arguing is that we've always generally been taught and noticed that the brightest star in the morning and the night is Venus, because it's a lower, right? Jupiter and a bunch of the other wandering stars are way higher. Venus is much lower in the sky, so it's brighter. So we definitely use both of those. And I don't understand. I do understand what Daniel's doing here. He's painting a picture that he's figured out prophetically, right, through years and years of research. And he wants to highlight the fixed star Sirius with the 7 stars, which is likened unto the 7 churches or the bride, the bride of Christ, who's come back to take his bride, and Orion, right? He wants to emphasize this part of the story. What I'm saying is that we can always follow all avenues as long as we keep everything truthful. We don't try to snip things and clip them together and take anything out of context. The stuff that we're agreeing with here is straight out. He's not misrepresenting any of it. Just the one time that he clipped the scales and put them a little bit in the wrong area. And he said the eclipse happened in the heart when it was in the left claw of the scorpion. That's the only error. Everything else is absolutely true. And I understand where he's coming from, because as a content creator, you paint the picture. So he wants to emphasize this story, and it just would have been a little bit more admirable if he had said, I would like to emphasize this, but let's also look where Venus is, where is it also Mars?
Well,
he's a big player.
He doesn't talk about Mars, but he does bring up Mercury. Okay,
we can keep going. Let's get back into this.
This is what the heavens are declaring right now. Not just one picture about Jesus Christ, but several, all at the same time. The heavens are ringing so loudly.
Bing, bing, bing. Right? They're everywhere.
Yes. So this is the thing. There's so many signs going on right now to cover them all. It's like, whoa, we're just breaking the ice on the signs taking place right now.
Are we paying attention? The bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. The heavens are resounding with the calls about our bridegroom here at this very late hour. On December 4th, the same day as the total solar eclipse.
What he said, right? I just want people to understand, we've been sold such a pack of lies. You know, people that stood up in front of pulpits and said they were preachers and they were men of the Creator. They were really just doing a job. They didn't teach us anything. And I just want everyone to make sure that you pay attention to all the content that's being explained here tonight. Maybe even watching it back. If you're in the chat, I know a lot of times that you missed stuff. And this is a pretty interesting podcast that we're doing here. You know, maybe skip through the Jaronism stuff, because that's just nonsense. I wish Jaron would just come on and just let us go through the information. We could stop.
Yeah. So I just want to highlight to people what you're looking at right now. So due south is center of screen, and then you can see east and west. So what this is it's been splayed out, right? This is a wide field of view, more than you could ever possibly see. And so you can actually see both to the east and the west in this shot. So what's going to happen is your ecliptic, he doesn't have it marked out right here, but your ecliptic's going to go like this through Mars. It's going to come up, and it's going to come back down here to the west. So this is showing you an impossible view, but it puts it all on the screen where you get to see it at once. So it's sort of cool.
Eclipse in Antarctica. If you were in Asia Minor, the same location as the seven churches, went out in the early morning to watch the morning star Sirius, this is what you would see. You would see Sirius in the west, as well as Orion setting, and Taurus, and Aldebaran, with Pleiades as well. But in the east, you would see the sun rising, and you would see it rising with Scorpius, the scorpion, but also a Fucus and Serpens as well, the serpent that is trying to reach the northern crown. And this is a very interesting picture when we look at the whole picture. Again,
So once again, we have a distorted view where he's got Mars inside of the claws of Scorpius. It's actually in Libra. Mars is in Libra. So this is one of those things I don't understand why he did it. I don't like it. We just have to shout it out.
There's multiple constellations that are being declared right now. There's a whole symphony declaring the time right now. Orion is hitting the horizon right at the same time that the serpent and the scorpion, the aspect that Bruce the Seal, is rising with the morning. At the same time that Sirius is still the morning star, but it's about to set with Orion. The same pictures that we've seen in Amos.
So what we're getting is the completion of a cycle where the star Sirius ruled the night sky. It was up there the longest. It's now setting with the seven stars, and it's being led down by what we could look at as a character in the sky with a giant, what is that, a battle club? Like a hammer?
I would call it a war club or a war hammer.
War hammer, like a giant rock tied to a hand, right? Like and I think Daniel might have shifted Mars up so that he could get a different line, even though it's still, what he's showing is still what's happening. If you look to the sunrise, just before sunrise, these are the key points in the night sky. The before sunrise, you can take a look at the picture in the sky, and at sunrise, before the sun rises, you look at the last sign that you've seen. This is how we can see the player, the story player, like the piano that just plays itself. The sky does the same thing. And what we see here is what could be likened unto Michael, Ophiuchus, with the snake, because Michael is the one who throws the snake down. He's rising above the sky as then the Sirius is setting, being led by the Battle Club, right? As you can see. So we've got multiple things taking place here in the pictures. It's a duel.
5-8 are getting ready to set right as the adversary is coming onto the scene, right at this prophetic time. When we get an X-ray view, you can see the sun will be rising with Antares, the heart of the scorpion. So that is very significant too.
It's not the heart of the scorpion. We showed that already. We'll be showing it again. It's in this knuckle after the claw. Mars is not inside the claw. Mars is out in Libra. So he's condensed all this. But we do have Ophiuchus with this. This was the solar eclipse, right? And it's in Scorpius, right? But it's right here. He's just got it out of place. He moved it.
With what is setting over in the west. Because the very moment that the sun dawns and rises, Antares, the heart of the scorpion, will be rising exactly in line with the sun. They will be rising in conjunction.
Okay,
and so this is unique.
There's an argument. So latitudinally, that's a word. It is in the area that the heart would be, along the line of the horizon. Yes. If you were to take a cross section of the eclipse, it would line up along that line. If that's what he's arguing without saying it, I can give him that.
Well, you see, what you should be able to see here, it's December 4th, 2317. Let's go ahead and bring up Stellarium. December 4th, 2317. Let's pull back here so we get our orientation.
Same view, let's get.
So
I see a lion.
no, we're looking at sunrise, right? No, what are we looking at?
Yeah, that's sunrise. You got it at sunset, it's sunrise.
Let's look at his video here. We have December 4th. So this time doesn't work. All right, this is he's talking about a sunrise. So let's go to sunrise. We're looking east. We'll come back to the morning. All right, so as the sun's coming up here, so this is not the morning. We need the morning. There. This is the scene that everybody can double check and verify. Yes, this is eclipse time. This is where the sun is at the leg of Ophiuchus. It's in that first knuckle of Scorpius. Scorpius's right claw is up against the bottom of Libra. And if we rewind this a little bit, we'll see Mars turn on before the sun. Once the sun gets below the horizon, there's Mars. All right, so Mars is in Libra, which is a whole constellation outside of Scorpius. So I don't know why he's doing this, but he's done it. Everything else is great. So go ahead.
Well, the main thing that I wanted to point out here is this is a dual witness sign.
Well, he's going to make it. He's going to make it a tri-witness sign coming up.
Yeah, we're going to get a triple witness, and we don't teach around here the Trinity that the Father is the Son. That's absolutely blasphemous, right? The Son was created by the Father. He's his own character, the Son, right? And the Son came into the world to save it, not to destroy it. But there is a destruction period coming. But what I want to point out here is that we've got what I would believe are two characters here. You could liken them unto Moses and Elijah. You could call them the Father and the Son. You could call them the two witnesses. There's two characters on the scene. One's about to throw a snake down. Oh, I owe you $10.
Yeah, so Mars, this is the problem I have. He has it inside the claws on December 4th. No, it's in Libra. All right, that's not happening. But what he's got as far as Orion is concerned and where he's going with this going forward, he's got it. So you want to keep going? We'll keep.
One other question someone was bringing up about the wandering stars. The wandering stars are not the fallen angels. No, they're not. The fallen angels are totally different. So the wandering stars do not traverse their path or break their commandments. They haven't yet. So this might take place. We got to read into Enoch to further get into that. But yeah, let's continue.
Celestial marker that the heavens will definitely be pointing to the Scorpion on December 4th, right at the same time that Orion is also setting, and Sirius as a morning star is also setting. The Scorpion is highly emphasized at this time on the celestial clock, so that gives a lot of emphasis on what the heavens are declaring. Now, if you've gone out in the past and looked up and lifted up your heads at Scorpius, you may have noticed something about Antares that also is reminiscent in Orion. Both Scorpius and Orion both have a reddish star, a very prominent reddish star. Orion has Betelgeuse, and Scorpius has Antares.
There's another star that's noted for its redness, and that's Mars, one of the wandering stars, not going to get a mention.
Shout out?
He's
Wow.
not going to give a mention to the red star Mars, but he is going to point out Antares and Betelgeuse, so we'll take that.
They have identical stars that stand out, a very strong reddish glow to them, which visually gives them a connection because they're one of the few constellations that has identical reddish stars. They have two unique aspects that they actually share. So even visually, this tells us there's something related about both of these constellations. One is about Jesus Christ, and one is about the enemy, the Scorpion. They have something in common that ties them together. Their stories are interlinked. So when we see what's going on one side of the sky, when the sun is rising with Antares, we also need to pay attention because there's going to be a pairing with what is going on the west side that is setting, Orion. There's going to be a double story that is emphasized with what we see going on at Scorpius. There's going to be a tie-in with what's going on with Orion. And this is an ancient perspective that even those in the seven churches of Asia Minor would have been able to tell us, and even the Apostle Paul would have been able to tell us, because he quotes from the astronomy book Phenomena, as we've talked about in our recent videos. And on line 660, it gets to Scorpius. Now, the gray section in the middle there, Aratus, the writer, he's talking about two Greek mythologies associated with Orion, which are not relevant at all, so we're going to just skip that. And we're going to pay attention to the celestial motion that he describes. When Scorpio rises with the bright Antar, Orion marks that signal from afar, nor turns to view the monster form again, but hastens downward to the western main. A mightier beast that could his might withstand, from the cleft rock arose at thy command, and this huge Scorpion with the hunter's blood avenged the harmless tenants of the wood. Hence not in heaven unmindful of the fray, Orion shuns the Scorpion's blasting ray. Aratus the writer was describing the celestial motions, how you can see Orion setting just as you see Scorpius rising, but how they are connected. They are connected through the stories of their mythology, but also visually as well. But he passes on the understanding even at that time that Scorpius did wound Orion at one time. He did draw blood from Orion at one time. This is understood even in this book that the Apostle Paul quotes, and that the seven churches were well aware of because it was written in their region, and very famous in their day too. So this is a perspective that we need to have when we see what's going on at Scorpius. Keep Orion in the picture, because these are connected. They share a story. When Scorpius is rising with the bright Antares, which is the heart of the Scorpion, when it's rising with the sun, particularly that's when it's seen with its rising, you will see Orion on the other side. Orion will mark that signal, that sign, from afar, understanding that the Scorpion did draw blood in the past. And even the Enemy's iPad Goat video seems to allude to this as well. The Scorpion having blasting rays in that region, destroying the three pyramids, the belt of Orion. The enemy is fully aware of what's going on the celestial clock and what time it is. They are fully aware of what time it is, but also even the same perspective that the seven churches had too. When Scorpius is rising, Orion is setting, and their stories are connected. They are connected. So we need to consider them paired rivals, Scorpius versus Orion. They have something in common with their orangish-red unique stars that really stand out, that tells us, hey, most constellations don't have these. These two have something in common because they're paired rivals. But here
I just think it's really weird to leave Mars out of the mix, especially once he's moved it into the claws of Scorpius where it doesn't belong. I think that's weird.
This time, as one is rising, the other is setting, which means that Orion is setting his foot down on the horizon as the Scorpion is starting to rise, and right as the morning star, Sirius, is fading off the scene too. So not only do we see the sun rising with Antares at this time and pointing to that portion of the story, but we also see a total solar eclipse happening at the same time, at the same spot, right at the foot that is treading on the Scorpion, the same time on the other side of that.
It's the knee. That's fine. And it's in line with the heart.
But that's the problem, because not in reality, because it's actually in line with this first knuckle.
Oh yeah, that's right. I know, but the sign still is the way that it is. We don't have to sugarcoat it up or say we don't have to move anything. It actually just stands on its own. I don't know if he did this to be debunked. It doesn't really debunk it because the signs are right there. Whether you want to move it an inch on the screen or an inch down.
Just go to Stellarium and see what it actually is.
Yeah, and it all does line up with what he's saying. Except for the last thing he played was just a passage from someone. It wasn't inspired.
Yeah.
Right? But it's interesting, though.
Horizon, Orion is setting down his foot on the horizon too. Both of these foot treadings marked by a total solar eclipse to top it all off, making sure we don't miss it. Do you see the emphasis that now is a treading time? The Scorpion drew blood in the past, but it's time to crush his head, to crush his enemies.
Yes.
And if we back up 30 minutes while Sirius is still the morning star, that's again what we need to consider in the whole picture here. Before Antares rises, before the sun rises, what happens first? Sirius is the morning star, which represents Jesus Christ. Orion is also Jesus Christ, the glorious one, the light of the world. Even before the heart of the Scorpion rises, Sirius is shining as a morning star. He's also putting his foot down on the horizon that he's there first.
Well, it's actually evening star at this point.
He's there first, and he's about to make his enemies his footstool. And when Antares does rise with the sun, that's also rising with him at Ophiuchus's foot right on his heart and head too. A triple treading time confirmation. This is the story that the heavens are declaring at this incredible time. Not just one constellation, two constellations, or three constellations. There's multiple, so many confirmations at this time going off at the same time.
We'll bring up a few more.
Telling us the bridegroom cometh, and you know what he's going to do when he comes. That day is about to start, where he's about to make his enemies his footstool. That day is about to start. When we look toward the west early in the morning, you can see Sirius on the left. It will still be shining bright as the day brightens up, but in the middle there you can see Orion, and then Aldebaran and Taurus, and on the right you can see Pleiades, the 7 stars. This is what you'll see as the day is dawning, as all these are setting concurrently. All these pictures are related and go together. The bright and morning star, the one who stands in the midst of the 7 churches, is also the glorious light of the world, and he's about to make his enemies his footstool. That's what time it is. All these are going on concurrently, and on the other side of the sky is a total solar eclipse, telling the same thing. Telling the same thing. When we zoom in a bit, you can see Orion so clearly. It really is a glorious constellation that stands out far above all the others. And most people will readily see the 3 stars that mark the belt, but then also Betelgeuse, which is the head, and then Rigel, which is the foot. But they'll also notice there's a little tail almost near the belt of 3 other stars. There seems to be another artifact there as well. What is that? That is the sword that is on the belt of Orion. And this is a prophetic picture that we need to keep in mind when we do look up and lift up our heads. Even in the late evening when Orion is rising and up above in the sky, you can see this out for a good portion of the night. Look at Orion's belt and you will see the sword that is on his belt. He is coming. He's about to put his foot down and make his enemies his...
It's really visible in the sky. You can't miss the sign. It's obvious when you look. And then, again, you'll be looking towards the path that the sun takes, right? So you know that if you're in the north, you got to be looking south. And then depending on how far north you are, the sign will be lower on the sky, on the horizon, closer to the ground. And you just look up and you'll see the 3 stars like that, boom, boom, boom. And then you'll see the 2 about where his arms are. And then you'll see the ones that come down as a sword. It's very, very easy to see. Very.
His footstool. He's coming with a great sword, too. A great sword. That is even in this very same picture. And that should remind us exactly what the scriptures say. Isaiah 27 verse 1. In that day, the Lord with a sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, that piercing serpent, Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay them.
Let's get a pause. This part is specifically to address Becca Shine had a comment about the dragon. And what we're saying is that Leviathan, the serpent, the snake, the dragon are all references to the same character, right? It's the character that took up abode, flew into the garden. His name was Godriel, and he deceived Eve. And there's other titles and other characters of their pit of legions. But what we're pointing out is, yes, we're now addressing that for you. Well, Daniel is.
The dragon that is in the sea. In that day, he's coming with a sore and great and strong sword. This ain't no normal sword that he's coming with. His coming, when he's about to make his enemies his footstool, is tied directly to a sword, and a great sword. And in the heavens, we see that great sword, the great sword of the great constellation, Orion, touching down on the horizon right at the morning with a morning star. Incredible declaration in the heavens right at this time, reminding us about that day. That day that is coming.
Pause it.
I'm not hearing you right now.
Oh, sorry, I was still muted. My trackpad didn't work. Just to read Revelation 12:9, and it says, "And the great dragon was cast out, the serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out onto the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." So what I'm saying is that the sign here looks an awful lot like that's the representation of Michael getting ready to throw it down, right? So that's just what we're seeing as one of the pictures that are being depicted right now in the sky.
Paul emphasized that Jesus Christ sat down from henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool. That is the next prophetic chapter. And that day is the day that we will see approaching. The day when he's coming with his sword. The day when he's about to make his enemies his footstool. And this is also what we see and hear declared so loudly across the horizon, across the heavens. From one end of the heavens to the other, east to the west. We see this declared right now. This incredible story. This incredible expectation that we see the day approaching. That day.
I'm going to do a little jump ahead here. And so this right here is really a super important section. He's talking about Joel 2:30 and 31. And this is what we're paying attention to for the last 2 weeks, and like a day or something, is the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. Now, one of the things I wanted to do quickly in this section is go to the interlinear. When we have questions about stuff, we go to the interlinear, we look at the original words that were used in the scriptures. So since this is Old Testament, we're going to be looking at Hebrew words. And so since it reads from the right to the left, it's going to say the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the day of, it says, Yahweh, the great and awesome. So this actually translates different than what you'll find in most transliterations. If you go to Bible Hub and you look at this, you look at Joel 2:31, they show you a list of different transliterations, and you have the great and dreadful day of the Lord, before the great and terrible day of the Lord, before the great and awesome day of the Lord, before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. So you have all of these. Now if you go scroll through here, and remember what we had just read as far as its actual transliteration, now we have a literal standard version that says the sun is turned into darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the day of YHWH, the great and the fearful. Right, so this is actually a different translation than you're going to see most of the other ones. One of the things that I run into is that most of the people, when they see Joel, when we look at this translation, it looks like the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and the terrible day of the Lord comes. So many people's minds jump to the end of the Great Tribulation, that this is the finality. It's all over at this point, right? Bam! The sky rolls up. Well, no, if you actually do the research and look at what the scriptures say, before the great and the terrible day of the Lord should be, let's go back to the transliteration, before the coming of the day of YHWH, YaHaWaHa, the great and awesome. All right, so from the scriptures, we're looking for a day where YaHaWaHa will come. This is the beginning of the Great Tribulation. This isn't the end. And I just wanted to point that out real quick.
I mean,
go ahead, brother.
I mean, it's correct interpretation of the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the Great Tribulation of YaHaWaHa is the correct way to look at this. The reference to it being a day is a reference to that day of, it's broken into 7 years. So what we have to focus on is that it's about tribulation. Before the great, it says terrible, but the correct way is tribulation. right? Before the day of great tribulation of YaHaWaHa. It's the way that this is coded. It's explaining his judgment, his wrath, right? This is what you're going to look to expect to see all these signs happening in the heavens. They're going to be just bing, 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 bing. And you'll see these two signs. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great tribulation of YaHaWaHa. The day that Joel was speaking of was the tribulation, right? I just want to point that out really simply.
And the moon into blood, which would be some type of a blood moon, where it obviously takes on a very strong red hue, a blood hue. He specifically tells us that yes, there will be wonders in the heavens and other events across a broad spectrum, but specifically, verse 31, he gets very specific. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. Verse 30 is a little generic, it's a little broad, and can encompass a lot of things, but 31, he tells us very specifically, two things are going to happen, and this is exactly what they are. The sun's going to be turned into darkness and the moon into blood. Look for both of those. Both of those are going to happen before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. That day. You will see the day approaching, but you know what's going to narrow it down really close? Is when you see the sun turned into darkness and the moon into blood. A very specific astronomical marker that goes with that day. Now, certainly over the past few years, with the talk about the blood moons and the different eclipses that have caught the world's attention, such as the American eclipse in 2017, there's been a lot of discussion about exactly which sun being turned into darkness and exactly which moon being turned into.
All right, so this is going to go into a research study now as to the possible blood moons, possible eclipse combinations.
We can get into the other signs if you want.
Yeah, well, that video sort of ends with that. So let's go to the recap real quick.
Double eclipse.
And I'm just going to go to I'm going to go to where he shows it all. Where is it? I want to see his celestial. Show the whole. This is too zoomed in. Pretty sure he showed the ecliptic in this. Am I wrong? I want to see the whole ecliptic again. Or we can just go to Stellarium.
Yeah, what are you looking for? This video, he brought it up in the beginning. He talked about the signs. He's very excited about it. It's a recap of the eclipse. What are you looking for? The great and terrible day, which we just talked about, was before the great tribulation, right?
Yeah, well, I'll show you. So if we go to the west and we watch what took place tonight, we'll go to the 5th. Go to a sunset. So here's what's taking place in the heavens right now. We've got Libra in between the feet of Virgo, in front of the claw of Scorpius. This is where the eclipse took place, right? It's in the first knuckle of the claw. Mars is in Libra, but it's not visible right now because it's still daytime. And so Mars is going to go below the horizon before the sun sets, so we're not going to see it in Libra.
Here, now we've got the second sign that we're going to be bringing into the story here, which is the white horse rider with the bow and a crown and the moon. The moon is in his eye line sight on the string of the bow right now. There's the second sign. We're now bringing your attention to this sign, right?
So the sun's just going down right now. All right, the light of the sky is diminishing, and this is where the sliver of the moon is being picked up by witnesses that don't have cloudy skies.
Seth saw it.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the new moon of the 9th month, lined up right on the string of the arrow, being shot down at, let's bring it back up again. All right, this is where the sun was. It was at the knee of Ophiuchus and the knuckle of Scorpius right here. This is where the eclipse took place.
Moved a bit, right?
Yeah.
It's been a day.
And here it is coming down.
That was also with Sirius and the Pleiades.
So now I want to back out and I want to show
that was the
people
blood moon.
what's taking place here at sunset. So there's your new moon sighting. Well, guess what? So at this point of the day, once that sun's going down and it's becoming dark like this, Venus pops on. Boom. Venus is up and in Sagittarius.
Yes.
Got no mention. Had
And-
no
and
mention.
The interesting thing is the Venus star was part of the Bethlehem star, so it's definitely linked to Christ. When Christ was born, that was the sign that the Magi saw, was Venus and Jupiter conjuncted in the sky, made a big star, right? And I'm gonna have to double check that, but what I do know is that Venus is very important as a marker, a playhead, like we said in our editor, where the scene is, we're drawing our attention to the wandering stars, and that's a big one. That's a very bright morning one and evening. Now we're getting it as the evening, the later of the brightest stars.
So now it's setting. All right, and then guess what else you get to see? You get to see Saturn.
Ooh, Saturn's jumping in.
Where's Saturn?
Capricornus.
Saturn is in the heart
The goatfish, serpent thing.
of Capricornus, whatever that's supposed to be. So yeah, goat thing. You got Saturn, which is supposed to be like Satan. This is the slowest moving sign in the heavens, Saturn.
One, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you have Jupiter, the scepter, going into Aquarius.
YaHaWaHa, the king star.
Going into Aquarius as this takes place. So that is the sign that is taking place at sunset. All right, that is the sign that is taking place at sunset. And then if we come around and we watch the sunrise of all this, that's when we're going to see the 7 Pleiades and all that. So that, and we just saw Jupiter go below the horizon. Now let's go ahead and swing ourselves around to the east. We're going to watch the morning of the 6th. So we're clicking through. Here comes the morning. You can still see Mars in the morning at this point. This would be tomorrow morning, everybody, if you were up at 6:45 based on your location. You would see Mars in the sky. And then as the sun's coming up, we still have the sun close. Now it's not the same. It's not exactly in the knee anymore, and it's not exactly in that knuckle anymore. But what happened at where's Orion taking place? Is that coming up? Where is Orion? I thought that. Oh, this is. Didn't that rise in the morning? I got lost.
Well, that was back on the 8th. We should just keep it back with what we just explained.
Yeah.
We're trying to backdate stuff, so we could do a recap. We go back to Daniel's first video. We can show. So there, I don't know what part of that one we needed to recap, but what we really wanted to show people is what we've witnessed in the past. I guess it's been about 6 months, 7 months. We've been tracking this.
Being turned into blood is the.
So not only do we have these signs, but on the Feast of Tabernacles this year, Jason and I filmed the new moon, which starts the feast. It's an 8-day festival, the greatest one. Well, I mean, Passover is pretty great. I don't want to say which one is better, but I love Tabernacles personally, the fall one. And we were filming the new moon. We were going to share it on the live stream. And Venus turned into a bouncing, dancing, acrobatic embryo. And this is all documented on Jason's channel. Jason's channel was completely shut down due to strikes, due to covering the Cerveza bug. But he still went ahead and published that. I advised him. I agreed. I thought, yeah, put it on your channel. You got all these subs. So we seen Venus turn into an embryo. Now we're having a crowning event that just took place. We've got all the media pointing out Omicron, and Alpha and Omega was drawn into that. We learned, Daniel taught us that the Omega sign used to be called Omicron. They switched it because that's what Satanists do. But everything seems to be playing out exactly the way that the scriptures foretold it. The prophecies are coming to pass, and whether or not, in the time of the Christ, 2,000 years ago, there was very few people that knew, even though he was going around. That was different then. The ministry now is of the two witnesses, and it's not one of going around. People have to be basically tortured almost to bend the knee so that they don't get destroyed. That's the whole process that the two witnesses have to do. Everyone hates them. So we're seeing all these different things take place now. And what we've seen in the sky is the crowning event. We've seen a bunch of different signs. Now we've got the white horse rider coming in. And out of we went back last hangout and talked about which each horse rider is. Right? There's 4 of them in concession, starting the Great Tribulation. We expect the Father's will to be done, and everything is pointing to now. So we're witnessing to it. I'm witness to it. Jason's witness to it. And again, I'll go through it. We have which could look like Michael with his knee on the scorpion. We just had an eclipse in this region. We've got the white horse rider with a crown following behind it. And then we have the water bearer. You could liken him to Moses. You could liken him to Yahawahashai. Yahawahashai said, I am the giver of water. He said, anyone who comes to me, they will have an abundance of water. Right? If you believe in him, the living water will flow out of your mouth. That's what we know. So Jupiter, the scepter star, which also denotes the king, the Christ, is in Aquarius right now. And so all of these things are taking place, as well as what we had shown with Orion. So the Orion thing is very key that Daniel was bringing up.
That's where I got lost, is trying to find Orion.
So this is the other sign that we want to point out. It's getting ready to smash its warhammer down at the same time on the scene, doing its thing. So we've got 2 witnesses, Orion, and we've got the white horse rider in conjunction right now. And a crowning event just took place, right? These signs haven't happened in 2,000 years. And they're happening again. We're watching. We're trying to document this with you guys. It's been a great night.
Yeah, so Orion is a sun setting sign.
Sorry about that.
And
there it is. The sun sets.
As the sun sets.
And it's lined up with Sirius, which is the ruler of the fixed stars and the longest viewed stars. And as well pointing towards the Pleiades, the 7 church stars, or the bride of the Christ. That's the story that we're painting tonight. And that storyline started on August 8th and it ends December 8th. All of this is culminating together.
Yeah, so this is what I was looking for. You got Sirius, the dog star. It's still up, right? So we have Orion coming down, and this is opposite the sign that's coming up in the morning. So this is what the scriptures we're sharing tonight are sharing, talking about. You see how the day is starting to break right here, and that's right as Sirius is going down. So that window of opportunity to see Sirius without the daylight interfering with it, Daniel was saying takes us up to like the December 10th, 12th region.
If you're on the ocean line on the west coast.
Mm-hmm. And so these are all things that are talked about in the scriptures. All right, Orion. So above Orion is the Pleiades. All these things are talked about in the scriptures. We wanted to share it tonight, and hopefully it helped. Hopefully you can see that with the blood moon, with the total solar eclipse, those things haven't taken place. Daniel Vallis has more documentation as to why these are the ones. But then it says in the scriptures that from that taking place, quickly our Savior comes. So Mercury is in this sign as well. That was also on the ecliptic that was being shared right here. So Mercury is right with with the sun, with the solar eclipse, Mercury has its fastest pass, so it is associated with quickness. All right, quickly the Lord comes. So we're pointing this out. What are we hoping for? We're hoping for the beginning of the Great Tribulation within days, hopefully less than a week. We know that the 80-year anniversary of Pearl Harbor is coming up December 7th. This time frame that we're talking about right now takes us through December 8th to December 12th tops. Times could be quick right now, everybody. That's what we're sharing. That is what we are sharing. Anything else, brother?
No, just everybody, just keep doing what you can do. Ride the ups and downs. Try to be as steady as you can. Get good rest. Eat healthy. Exercise. Get as much sun as you can. I know the winter months for the people in the north, it can be darker and not as exciting. So find something that you're passionate about. Make sure you use your heart. Put it into everything that you do. Talk to the Father. He's in your heart. You don't have to you don't even have to open up the scriptures. You can just openly talk with the Father. He's right there. Cast your fear on him. Beg him to teach you, right? He'll tell you what's true or not. Jason and I are just witness to the truths that we've found, that we can verify. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. I thought it was a great hangout, a great podcast, worldwide, right? And where did they hear this? Only. Are you ready?
I am ready.
I didn't want to take it away or steal the thunder, right?
I am ready.
You heard this only on the YaHaWahashai News Network.
Foreign skies, come and find me where the daylight ends. Stolen time, enough to waste on feeling young again. Destination, decimation, be my detour for a while. And until we're headed nowhere, we can watch the world burn. Take one last look at what we left behind. Hold me closer, we can drive forever till the blood moon dies. Too late to start again, so let's live to see the end and leave our shadows when we're gone. Silhouettes against the darkness hanging over us. Don't forget all those places that we used to love. Destination, decimation, be my detour for a while. And until we're headed nowhere, we can watch the world burn. Take one last look at what we left behind. Hold me closer, we can drive forever till the blood moon dies. destination, be my detour for a while.
You are Yahawahashai's and YaHaWaHa's warriors. You're the witnesses, the two witnesses in the park, 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the book. You guys are righteous, holy, perfect, never tell a lie.
Nailed it.